Well, today's episode is going to be a lot more fun. As you know, we continue to try to catch up with Stardom. Right now, we have, of course, with the Korakuen Hall event that took place back on June 4th, where we have matches like the generational struggle between two different wrestling generations against each other. So we'll talk a lot about those. And then, of course, we had Wrestling Revolver with Ring of Destiny. We have some interesting matches. The Revolver World Championship is on the line. We even have some matches involving wrestlers coming from Prestige Wrestling to take on, of course, the Wrestling Revolver talent. And then we move on with Game Changer Wrestling with Thank Me Later. We have some very awesome matches, definitely going to, but the main event features Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Nick Gage. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then finally, we move on with more of New Japan Pro Wrestling with New Japan Road, Day 8 in Shiba. That's going to be interesting. As you know, we continue to see more things, but the main event features talent from All Japan Pro Wrestling taking on the talent in New Japan. And then finally, we got some news updates. Definitely, we're going to be talking about what events are being put out, but from what promotion, who's being booked, what matches are set, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with Stardom in Korakuen Hall on June 4th. Now, this has come at the heels when we started having the generational struggle. However, we'll talk more about that in a little bit in two different settings. Now, our first match features Fukigen Death versus Momokoko versus Tekla. Now, these three talents, as you know, they're all high speeds, but however, who has the better high speed? Mostly you can tell that, Tekla is the one who doesn't care, but she does things her way. But I kind of figured that this match was either going to go between Fukigen Death or Tekla. But the reason is because Momokoko, as you know, she has been in a losing streak at some time. But, however, it was Fukigen Death who picked up the win with the O'Connor roll, as always, to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai consistent of Ruka, Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora. They take on the classmates, most consistently from Stars, Sareee-ISM, Koguma, and Azuki. Now, you know these type of matches when it comes to Oedo Tai, they will try to cheat their way through. But, however, it was, in fact, Momo Watanabe with the Hide Denashi driver onto Sareee-ISM to pick up the win. Now, our next match, this one's one of two of sort of a generational struggle match. Recently, as you know, Aya Sakura Hanako called out Lady C, Mai Sakura, and of course Waka Tsukiyama. However, recently we have been seeing how Hanako and Aya Sakura has been totally disrespecting Waka, calling her annoying, which Waka did not take it too clearly. However, Sakura and Hanako teamed up with the Supernova Miyu Amasuka. However, you can tell there was going to be animosity between, of course, Sakura and Waka. And it kind of ended in that way, but it was Waka who picked up the win against her. However, the feud between those two doesn't seem it's going to be over. But right on the side, of course, you can tell Sakurai and Lady C were laughing, knowing that this is a mess that she got herself into. Now, when Waka was about to address this win, however, Sakurai took her moment away from her, despite the fact that she was the one who went, not Sakurai. I wouldn't be surprised if she decides to get in her face one way or the other to finish off what she started. Now, our next match, we have Club Venus, consistent of Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa, taking on the new eras from God's Eye, consistent of Ami Sourei and Mirai. Now, keep in mind, as you know, recently we did witness that Mina Shirakawa is trying to get Club Venus back on track, knowing the fact that after losing the white belt after one defense, losing to her former friend and leader of the Cosmic Angels, Tam, she is definitely going to go full up ahead. However, this one was a very interesting win, and of course, a big one that she needed because she put Ami Suri in a figure four leg lock and forcing Ami Suri to tap out. But as soon as that happened, I figured that this match was going to be, of course, issued for the tag titles. But of course, Ami Suri thinks that, that she doesn't have what it takes to defeat her. Now, keep in mind, we know that in the past, Mina has defeated her before, but she hasn't defeated one particular person, and that is Mirai. But of course, Mina told her not to underestimate her. But we'll see how that goes because that match is set until the 25th of this month. Next up, we got the other members of Oedo Tai, consistent of Starlight Kid and Saki Kashima, taking on Mai Seda and Azumi. So this is a classic of high-speed wrestlers consistent from both sides. However, in this particular match, it was, of course, Mai Seda with the rolling star onto Saki Kashima picking up the win. Now, as you know, what we saw with, of course, Mina picking up the win to issue the challenge. However, Kashima decided to decline the challenge from Mai Seda, saying that it's not going to happen today. Like, she's not ready. However, we know that Mai Seda has challenged for this belt once before, and that was against Azumi, but she lost that match. I don't know why Kashima is not going to defend it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sarah down the line calls her a coward. Our next match, we have a passion injection match between Yuna Mizumori and Nanane Takahashi. Now, I saw this on Twitter recently. Certain wrestlers who were involved in the passion injection, that includes Mai Sakurai, Waka, Lady C, and I forgot who, and of course the new girls, Hanako and Sakura, were watching. However, Yuna Maneze really did a pretty good job, picked up a good fight and all that stuff. But however, Nanane Takahashi, who is full of passion, applied the refrigerator bomb on her to pick up the win. But in an interesting promo, of course, Nanane Takahashi asked her about her passion about this. She said she always had passion in her heart. And then, of course, she said that she's planning to join the Cosmic Angels. Now, I don't know how the other people who are watching feel about this. I mean, I did mention Sakurai, a former member of Cosmic Angels. So is Waka. That kind of goes out its way. Probably they'll think, what is she thinking? But it's still unofficial yet. Tam did say that she did not hear anything about this, but we'll get to that at some point when we get there. But, however, Nanane Takahashi wasn't even done. She even called out Starlight Kid. So basically, she issued the passion injection match onto her. But, of course, Starlight Kid has been hoping for a wrestler like Nanane, who is a legend in Stardom, would issue the challenge. Now, our next match, we have Club Venus, consistent of Jesse and Xena taking on the Cosmic Angels, Natsupoi and Sareee-ISM. Now, you probably can guess that this match was going to be interesting in various aspects. But, however, in this case, it was Sareee-ISM who picked up the win with the pottering onto Jesse to get the win. However, it appears that some old rivalries between Natsupoi and Onoi has now resurfaced. Now, keep in mind, Natsupoi did mention previously that she was the one person she hasn't been able to beat. However, Natsupoi has been unable to talk due to the fact that she lost her voice. But she is trying so hard to get it back, but we'll see what happens. Now, we get to the generational struggle match. We have team number 1, Suzuki, Maika, Sai Kamitani, and Utami Ishida taking on Suri, Julia, Mayu Iwatani, and our Double Crown champion, Tam Nakano. Now, you know there's going to be some interesting moments in this match. One moment you probably can guess, there's no way that Julia and Tam can get along due to the fact that they are rivals, due to the fact of their history. They've been going at it back in 2020. Of course, it did happen that way. But unfortunately, there's been some good moments with the members of Suzuki, Maika, Kamitani, and Hayashida. But, however, the match ended in a 30-minute time limit draw, which is unacceptable. However, Mirai decided to integrate herself in the generational struggle, but Utami felt that this is none of her business anyway. I know she's been dealing with some fallouts coming in from Queen's Quest, but that's pretty much it. So we don't know when is the next rematch for this generational struggle, but we'll see what happens then. I think that's pretty much it with this one. With Stardom, I believe it's time for Wrestling Revolver. Okay, Wrestling Revolver, Ring of Destiny. You know, it sounds like something of an Indiana Jones movie. Well, it kind of does, but nonetheless, the title's pretty good. Now, this is much of the recent show that took place on the 16th of June. No, 17th of June, my bad, 17th. It started out with JT Dunn coming into the ring announcing that he was supposed to have a match against Konosuke Takeshita. However, Takeshita was not there for some odd reason, but JT Dunn decided to pull out an open challenge to anybody. And the person who responded is the one who's been a thorn in the side of the promoter of Wrestling Revolver, Sami Callihan. Now keep in mind, Callihan is sick and tired of the unit causing nothing but problems since he's the promoter. So basically, he accepted the challenge. He beat the crap out of JT Dunn, and every possible Dunn tried to do the same thing. But it was the Cactus Driver 97 that put away JT Dunn, giving Sami the win and retribution he's been dealing with him for a while. Now, our next match, we have a intergender tag match. We have the Brat Pack, consistent of Billy Starks and Broken Finley, to take on the unit, Logan James and Alley Catch. Now, you know the unit are trying to prove once again why they are the strongest faction in Wrestling Revolver. But once again, Alley Catch, with the ref did not see it, gouged the eyes of what's her name, of Billy Starks when she had her on her shoulders, and then pulled up a victory roll onto her to pick up the win. And you know there's going to be retribution for this. Now, our next match, well, first thing first, we have Alex Shelley. As you know, he is now our current Impact Wrestling champion. Came out to address the fans, and then one way or the other, he was interrupted by Robert Martyr, who is in fact, as you know, the pinnacle loser coming from Prestige Wrestling. And then, of course, his opponent, Al Angels, came to address that, you know, that he is a loser, and that's why he's become the adopted son of Wrestling Revolver. Now, you probably can guess that this match was going to be into the favor of Robert Martyr. Was losing because that has always been. Apparently, recently, since Prestige Wrestling, he said if he doesn't win, he'll be out of Prestige Wrestling for good. But it was, of course, Alan Angels with a frog splash. It took only 2 attempts to put him away, giving him the win. Now, our next match, this is a much brutal match. This is the Unlucky 13 Staple Gun match between Crazy King and Alex Colon. Now, you have to have 13 staples stapled on your body, so that's kind of in a hectic match, you probably would have guessed, and it was. If you're not fans of that, then you probably have to fast forward if you ever watch it. But nonetheless, you know, the Blood Fighter, this is his kind of style. But however, it was a double knees with the light tubes onto Crazy King to pick up the win. Next up, we got a golden ticket gauntlet match. We have many wrestlers that were involved and this and that. Now, I'm going to skip to the end because there were many wrestlers that were practically involved in this. The last 2 people that were involved was Damian Chambers and Jessica. Now, Jessica had this match won, but it was the interference of the unit once again that cost her the match, giving, of course, Damian Chambers the opportunity. Now, keep in mind, Chambers has been ignored many times over by Wrestling Revolver. They didn't want to give him a chance, but thanks to Johnny E. Bravo, who helped him out, he's going to get it. But however, does he really have a chance to win the title? Well, we'll see what happens. Till then. Our next match, we have the ABC taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. This is another type of match involving the Prestige Wrestling versus Wrestling Revolver. Representing Prestige is the Motor City Machine Guns, and ABC represents Wrestling Revolver. So, Motor City Machine Guns represent Prestige, and ABC Wrestling Revolver. So you can guess there was going to be a lot of factors. However, there was a moment when referee did not see this. Alex Shelley whacked who was it? Chris Bay with the belt and didn't work. Gia Miller tried to get involved but was rescued too by her boyfriend Ace Austin. But unfortunately, this match ended when, of course, Chris Sabin applied multiple low blows onto Chris Bay, giving them the win. Now, our next match is the Wrestling Revolver World title between Jake Crist and Steve Maclin. Now, you know Steve Maclin has been on a tear since becoming champion, and of course, recently he lost the Impact Wrestling World title. But in this case, it was Jake Crist who picked up the win when he applied a what was it? With a backslide, which is a move that is unexpected, that allowed him to win, and of course Maclin gave him the belt as a sign of respect. However, at the time of this match of celebration, we received a very interesting message from a particular wrestler, the so-called king of the death matches in the indie god, Matt Cardona, who has issued a challenge for the world title. But however, what does Jake Crist think? Well, we'll see what happens then. We know that recently, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to spoil this for everybody. Matt Cardona is the current House of Glory World Heavyweight Champion, defeating Jacob Fatu. Now, our next match, we like to call it was called as the Dream Match. We have the Rascals, consistent of Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and Myron Reed. They team up with RSP, Ricky Shane Page, taking on the Second Gear Crew, consistent of Matthew Justice, one called Manders, and Warren Smurner, where they take on John Moxley. Now, you know there's going to be a lot of mayhem and carnage. The Second Gear Crew, they like to do all that sort of thing. But in this case, it was, of course, Moxley who picked up the win onto RSP with the Death Rider onto a stack of chairs to put away RSP. 1, 2, 3. They won the match. So I think this was a pretty good fun show. I enjoyed it, so you guys should check it out. So now let's move on to our next review, and that is GCW Thank Me Later. Okay, GCW, they're back at the Ukrainian Culture Center, UCC. This one also took place on the 17th of June. It opened up with Cole Radrick taking on Starboy Charlie. I thought this match was very impressive. A pretty good opener. Not the best, but a pretty good opener. Um, I was a bit biased on this particular match because I'm a fan of both guys. But in this case, this match ended with, of course, Starboy Charlie doing like a spinning um, kick onto the back of the head of Cole Radrick, pick up the win. I thought that was very impressive, so that was pretty amazing. So Charlie picked up the win. Next match, we have Kevin Knight taking on Alec Price. I thought this match was very impressive. Now, some of you may think this match is going to fall into Alec Price because Kevin Knight is still a young lion. Now, he still continues to learn, but Kevin Knight has been very impressive in this particular match. However, he did pick up the win when he pinned Alec Price when there was back and forth counters from both sides. So it was Kevin Knight who picked up the win. Next up, we got Los Macizos, Ciclope, Medio Extremo, taking on Joey Janela and Soyrek. Now, you know there's going to be a lot of toys be involved. Tables, ladders, chairs, doors, whatever they can get their hands on. That was going to be the way how the match is going to roll. But however, Ciclope was on top of a ladder with Soyrek until she chokeslammed him through the door, but it did give the Joey Janela to pick up the win. So I thought that was very impressive on her part to do that, and then Joey Janela taking the victory regardless. Now our next match, we have a very interesting match. Jimmy Lloyd taking on Santana Jackson. Yes, guys, if you guys don't know who he is a bit of a Michael Jackson a wrestler. I have seen clips of him from future stars of wrestling and various other locations. I thought this match was pretty fun, very interesting. Not to mention, Jackson was doing the moonwalk. I thought that was pretty fun. But the finisher of this match was very fun. The moonwalk DDT, yes. So that was really fun. So I thought it was a pretty good match. I think I took a lot of fun from it. Next up, we got Jack Cartwheel, Kevin Blackwood, and Titus Alexander. Now, you know this type of match when it comes to Titus Alexander. He's a bit of a cocky guy claiming that he is at the top of the world as always. But this was going to be a much interesting matchup because you've seen how Kevin Blackwood, he is a strong wrestler, a bit of the technical aspect. Cartwheel, very athletic, very agile, and very, he knows how to do flippy stuff. As for Titus Alexander, he's a bit of a cocky dude. So you probably think there's going to be some great moments on this one, but it was in fact Jack Cartwheel with a spiral onto Alexander, giving him the win. Now, our next match, we have Japanese female wrestlers facing off for the first, I don't know if this is the first time they ever faced off each other. We're talking about Rina Yamashita taking on the cutest in the world, Maki Ito. I thought this match was so intense, not to mention, of course, Maki Ito using the pizza cutter that Nick Gage gave her as a present. There was a lot of good moments, but however, they even bang each other on the heads with the chairs. But in this case, it was Rina Yamashita with a splash mount on top of the chairs, giving her the win. Next up, we have Kenny King taking on Effie. Now, this is going to be a very interesting match because we all know how Effie is in the ring. If you guys ever seen Effie, you know he's a bit of a odd one. The way he is, I don't know how Kenny would feel, but however, it was Effie with a counter to the Royal Flush with the inside cradle that allowed him to pick up the win. I thought that was a sweet way to end the match like that. Now, our next match, this is a very interesting one. We have Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Nick Gage. Now, this is a very interesting matchup. Now, the way I see it, if you guys know, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the best technical wrestlers we have seen. I thought it was pretty interesting. I know Nick Gage has often talked about during an interview he did with Chris Van Vliet, talked about how he's a big fan of that. And I think this is a better way to see how he can be in the same level as Zack. But however, Zack, as you know, he is very crafty on his submission and techniques and ways to pick up the wins. When he applied the bridge a cradle in order to pick up the win, I thought that was sweet. So it's going to be great. I think this was a pretty good match. I liked it. I think that's pretty much it for, of course, GCW. Let's move on to our final review, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, our final review, New Japan Pro Wrestling with New Japan Road. This is day 7th. This was in Chiba recently. It opened up with Kosa Fujita and Rohei Oiwa. As you know, these two guys are part of the same class. However, there was animosity between them. Now, the reason there's animosity between them, if you guys remember clearly, during the IWGP World Television Tournament, these two guys helped Zack Sabre Jr. to defeat Evil, who plays Dirty Tricks. However, Zack Sabre Jr. only can take one of these young lions, and he picked Kosa Fujita. Fujita has been one of those wrestlers that learned very quickly from Zack Sabre Jr., learning the techniques, how to apply submission. However, he, in the other hand, doesn't need to do the work as doing the chores as every other young lion do at the dormitory. And of course, Oiwa, who's a bit of jealousy or has anger towards him that he doesn't have to do anything. So that match continued on very well until it ended in a time limit draw after 10 minutes. Next up, we got tag team action. We got Oscar Lobe and Tiger Mask teaming up. They take on Bolton Oleg and Roysuke Taguchi. I had a feeling that Taguchi was going to go back to his old ways. I'm going to skip ahead. He teabagged Tiger Mask for the win. You can see his bare ass, hanging out on his pants. I don't know if anybody told him to pull his pants up, but that's how it goes for him. Next up, we got the House of Torture. Dick Togo, Sho, Yujiro, and Evil taking on Makabe, Yo, Yano, and Yoshihashi. Now, we know the House of Torture, how they operate. They are like to go do dirty tricks, use garrotes, wrenches, and all that. But Yo did something very cool. He actually tried to choke out, of course, Sho. Sho even mentioned on the post-match comments that that's kind of evil of him to do that. Look who's talking. But in this case, it was, of course, Yo with the direct drive onto Dick Togo to pick up the win. Next match, we have the Bullet Club War Dogs, consistent of Geto, Drilla Maloney, and Clark Connors, taking on once again United Empire, Khan, Akira, and TJP. Now, keep in mind, what's his name? Maloney and Connors had made a play for the IWGP titles. But however, the X factor of this match is Geto. He's the one who suffered the loss in the hands of TJP with the Pinoy stretch, forcing him to tap. Then once again, the War Dogs tried to attack them from behind, but apparently the United Empire learned their lesson from the last time, and they sent a direct message to them. Don't know what they said, but it appears that this war between them is not even over just yet. But however, TJP and Akira are confident enough to say they will never take those titles off of them. But we'll see what happens until then. Next up, the other members of the Bullet Club War Dogs, Alex Coughlin and Kid take on Yuto Nakajima and Hiroki Goto. This was one of those strong matches. However, as you know, Goto is one half of the IWGP Tag Team Champions with Yoshihashi. You know they're going to try to send a message because they want to believe that this is their time now. They're not going to wait. But however, it was of course the hijack power driver to put away Nakashima, and then they try to beat down Goto. But Yoshihashi tried to help, but it wasn't too good until they applied the hijack power driver onto him to send a direct message telling them that their time is up and this is their time now. Now our next match, we have a very interesting six-man tag match. We have Shota Umino teaming with Strong Style members. Desperado, Ren Narita taking on, who was it, the teams? Oh yeah, Tomoaki Hamna, Tomohiro Ishii, and Kaguchika Okada. Now you probably can guess there's animosity between every certain members across the board. However, even within the team between Narita and Shota Umino, they collided on various occasions. But however, they were able to pick up the win when they Umino applied the Death Rider onto what's his name on Hanna. But however, at the match, the fight between both Umino and Narita continues on. If you guys remember clearly, these two guys were from the same class together until they went their separate ways of excursions. Of course, Umino ended up going to the UK, while Narita ended up going to LA to study under Shibata. So I thought that was a pretty good match, but we'll see what happens till then. Now, our next match features, of course, the battle between LIJ and Just Five Guys. Of course, we have Yodosuji, Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito taking on Just Five Guys, Taka, Kanemaru, Taichi, and Sanada. You know, the struggle between those two. Now, keep in mind, Yodosuji still has his eyes set on the IWGP World title, but it's only a matter of time until he gets his hands on that title again. Keep in mind, Suji is involved in the G1, so we'll see what happens then. But it was Suji with the spear onto Taka Michinoku, giving them the win. So the obvious question, should Sanada be worried? If I say yes, but we'll see what happens until then. Now our main event features New Japan versus All Japan. Now these two promotions have been two of the oldest promotions in Japan for a long time, dating back to the 70s. Now representing All Japan, we have Yuma Anzai, Asuki Aoyagi, Yuma Aoyagi, and Kento Miyahara taking on Master Wato, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Sato Kojima, and Yuji Nagata. Now, keep in mind, many of the All Japan talent were not happy to see their proud champion being Yuji Nagata, who's from New Japan. Well, that's how it is. But in this case, it was Nagata who picked up the win when he applied the Nagata lock, not 54, onto Atsuki Aoyagi, giving him the win. So I thought it was a pretty good match. Pretty good. So I think that's it with New Japan. I believe it's time for some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So this is what we have so far. West Coast Pro has announced for the Cruel Summer events. Cruel Summer that's going to take place on July 8th. Chris Hero will be making his appearance. So if you guys are from the area of the Bay, then you guys are in for a treat. Wrestling Revolver announced for the Cage of Horrors event on July 1st. It was announced that the Wrestling Revolver World title will be defended. Jake Chris defends that title against Kevin Blockwood. Now, Ganjo has announced for their upcoming event they'll be taking at the Ryogoku KFC Hall on the 16th. It's now made official. We have Yuri will taking on her former friend and one-time teammate Misa Kagura in a singles match. Now, I mentioned this in a previous Ganjo event, and now it's going to happen. Now, former WWE talent Sareee, now known as Sareee, has announced for the second event of Sareee-ISM Chapter 2. However, she put out this event on a press conference at the Inoki Genko factory, where she announced that she will be participating in a tag match, and you all gonna love this. She's gonna be teaming up with none other our favorite pirate princess, Kairi. So this is interesting. Two former WWE superstars teaming up. I know for a fact they're gonna tear the house down. However, they announced the opponents they'll be facing, and this event will take place on August 4th at Shinjuku Face. As for their opponents, they are the aces of their respective promotions. We have Arisa Nakajima from Seedling, and she teams up with Takumi Iroha from Marvelous. So that's going to be interesting. Now, very interesting news that took place on AEW Collision. As you know, AEW Collision did their first show in Chicago. Not only Chicago is the home of CM Punk, it's also the home of everybody's favorite blue girl, Skye Blue. Now, Skye Blue has made this publicly and addressed that she is currently in a relationship with none other than Kyle Fletcher of Aussie Open. So this is a very interesting thing. Last year, we know she was in a relationship with Dante Mar. We don't know how things ended up, and then she ended up with Jared Diaz. I mean, she moved real fast from guys. Now I'm not trying to badmouth anything, but it's interesting to hear things like that. But it is what it is. Now, finally, our next update for all you Pro Wrestling Noah fans out there, any of my subscribers who are Noah fans. This is a very unusual thing that just been announced by Pro Wrestling Noah, that Naomichi Marifuji has set a press conference this coming Tuesday. Now, I've been hearing this on Twitter from many people that are a bit more worried about what's going to happen. Those are concerned, believing that Naomichi Marifuji will be retiring. Now, we don't know for sure if that's the case, but if it is, then it is what it is. So we'll just gotta wait and see until then. I think that's pretty much it for now. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I will be reviewing the Future Stars of Wrestling 14th anniversary show. I'm not sure if there was be anything else. Now, the reason behind that is because early in the morning, right now it should be. It's still June 18th, only 2 minutes till midnight. I gotta be heading to work early in the morning, so by the time this video is out, I'll be already working. So that's pretty much it, what I'm gonna be doing. I haven't decided what else I'm going to do, but we'll see what happens until then. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.